Oh. Alrighty, welcome back to the Movie Well Marathon. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Mac.
And we are
Hmm.
getting into a new marathon today. I'm very excited. Mac isn't, but that excitement will come and go depending on the
It,
movie.
these conversations will be
Oh,
interesting
they're
for
going to be
sure.
so good. It's going to be so good. We are starting our Spider-Man marathon. It's our second superhero marathon. We did Superman last year, doing Spider-Man this year, and it worked out better
Mm.
than I thought it would because we did this
Mm.
to line up with the eventual release of Spider-Man Brand New Day. This is
Hmm.
actually our most time relevant marathon we've ever done
Oh, the
because
most contemporary
we
one?
well
Cool.
we're recording it on June 3rd. This will come out next week. That's the most that's the quickest turnaround we've ever done. We've always had more
That
of a
is fast.
several weeks. So this won't come out after Spider-Man Brand New Day like some of our other marathons. So this is fun, but
Yeah,
it lined up with I think within a week of Spider-Man Noir coming out, which is just funny.
that's true. I
It's
forgot. Yeah.
sandwiched between some Spider-Man projects, which is super fun. Um, but yes, I'm
This has
rambling.
no connection to Spider Noir,
Not at
but
all. We will not be talking about Spider Noir, but so much Spider-Man stuff this summer. We are on the first Spider-Man,
Hmm.
directed by Sam Raimi, came out May 3rd, 2002, starring, of course,
Hmm.
Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Willem Dafoe, James Franco, Elizabeth Banks, Joe Manganiello. He's only in there for like a second. Cliff Robertson as Ben Parker, Rosemary Harris as Aunt May, and of course, J.K. Simmons. Best comic book casting
Good old
ever.
JK.
Oh, so
Hmm.
good. But yes, we were on the first Spider-Man
Almost
movie.
never wrong to cast JK
It's
Simmons. Almost never wrong.
almost never wrong. But yeah, this is gonna be one of our longer marathons. I'm very excited. Oh, I guess we should say it real quick up front. I guess not that anyone's wondering, maybe some people are wondering, no one's listening. We're not doing the Avengers movies that Spider-Man is in or any of
Yeah.
the Sony spin-offs. We're not doing Venom. We're doing just Spider-Man
It's
solo
just
movies.
if it's a
So,
Spider-Man
yes,
movie, if it says
yes,
Spider-Man in the title,
yes.
that's what
Oh,
we're doing.
excluding the animated ones. So we're doing the Tobys, the
Yeah,
Garfields, the Hollands, the one with that they're all
I
in.
lobbied for the animated ones, but
I lobby that it needs to be its own marathon because it's not finished yet, and I think that's fair.
yeah, it might be a few years, honestly.
It's not. Oh, God, we can't get into it. So yes, we're on Spider-Man. This will be a fun conversation because I. Do you mind if I start? Do you mind if I start this
Go
one
for
just real
it.
quick? So
Hmm.
all of this nerdness that I am, I think
Starts here.
it starts here. I saw this movie when I was like 4.5 years old, and it changed my life. Like it was Spider-Man from then on, and it's never stopped. It got me super into superheroes. It got me into drawing to an extent because I love the
Mm-hmm.
montage of him drawing the suit. I always
Hmm.
remember that being longer. It's only like a minute and 10 seconds, but I'm obsessed with it. And so this is a formative movie. I understand there are flaws. I will not say I it's not perfect. I have plenty of nitpicks. There are some things that have not aged well. But you might have to catch me on a few things because this movie is a pillar in me. I do think it's a pillar in superhero movies. We wouldn't be here where we are with stuff like now
That's fair.
Supergirl, Clayface, a Swamp Thing show, Black Panther, Moon Knight, Wonder Man without the success of these movies. So I give it a lot of credit there. So I'll have to say I do enjoy this movie. I don't know how well I want to talk about whether or not it's a good movie.
Yeah, should I
For the
should,
most
should
part, I
I
think it is.
share my thoughts?
I'm almost done. You can hold off one more second.
Okay, because
Um,
I have a particular
yeah,
history with this as well, and it
yeah.
is interesting to relate in comparison to yours. But I want you to
Yes.
finish
It's
first.
just it gets a lot of credit from me for what it achieved and
Hmm.
what it's done for superhero movies for Spider-Man. That again, not that's not to say I don't have many a nitpick that'll be fun to nitpick, but I do. It's a weighted grade for me. Like a lot of its transgressions are overlooked because of the time, because of almost the only superhero movies that came before this are Batman and Blade and Superman. So like this was impressive. So yeah, okay, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I guess I probably watched this like a year. I think I probably watched it the year it came out, even though I would have been like 3 years old. But I have very early memories of basically not really caring that this was on the TV. Um, and it's wild to think about that
Mm-hmm.
because I am a huge superhero movie nerd. First off, if you're listening to this video, you haven't listened to our other ones. So let me tell you, I love superhero movies. I
Mm-hmm.
am into the superhero genre in a really big way.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you're not watching or listening to this episode, but that doesn't matter. Um, point is, I love superheroes. And I will be real, I think this movie might have delayed my entrance into the
Wow.
superhero world.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, great. That's
yeah,
so harsh.
I know. And like the thing is, I can look at it now with as close to non-biased lens as I can, right? Because you can't really ever fully get rid of your biases. And I can recognize that there's a lot about this film that actually probably legitimized superheroes in the public sphere. I can see
Mm-hmm.
why this story led to what we have today rather than, being sort of like a false start. But there are certain things about this film that I think, I mean, at the end of the day, I just don't think it's that good of a film. I think it was very innovative. I think there are some things about it that help create the genre, but
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's an example of like how the first became a path for others to actually be great, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. Um, and I think a lot of it is in the acting and the writing,
Mm-hmm.
which are the two things that I probably care the most about when it comes to storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's rough going through and watching this and knowing that a lot of people really love it and knowing that I don't think I'm ever going to love it. It's tough.
Oh, it's so painful. I
I'm
can
sorry.
I can
I'm sorry.
acknowledge most of what you've laid out, and I can't argue with a lot of it. The okay, how do we want to do this? Do we want to go back and forth, or do we want to talk about positives, or do we want to talk about nitpicks? Like how would we like to?
Do we want to try and travel through the story?
Um,
Like start at the beginning
sure.
or
I guess we could do that and talk about goods and bads as we go.
Mhm.
I am I go back and forth on the narration. I'll be honest with you. It's not my favorite. It's
Yes.
not my favorite thing,
Uh-huh.
but I think it's meant to be like a comic book. You get the
Yeah,
internal
which you almost
monologue.
always get the internal
Yeah.
narration in the monologue. I think my problem with the narration is that we go from like this really, really cool opening. Like, first off, is this the first time that Marvel's used like the flip book comic opening for a film?
Possibly. I don't know for sure. I don't want to say and be wrong.
Okay.
I don't know for sure.
Something to check on there, but that's very cool. And then like granted time has passed and the graphics aren't as good as they used to be, but I felt like the opening credits were really cool. Like I
Hmm.
was invested in what was happening.
While we're
I
here,
was
the
caught
music
in.
fantastic. Danny Elfman,
Hmm.
Spider-Man music incredible.
Hmm.
Love it. It
Yeah.
has aged very well. It's still iconic. But yes,
Hmm.
yeah. Opening is kind of
And
cool.
then we come out of this really awesome sequence right into the most cliched narration I have ever heard in my entire life,
Fair.
delivered by a voice that I think does not fit the character. And that
Yeah.
is tough for a lot of people to hear, but I think the casting might have been a little off here. Um,
I
that or the
gently
writing and the
agree.
directing just really, really wasn't where it needed to be. Because it's possible that Tobey Maguire could have delivered a really believable Peter Parker. I just don't think that it happened, you know? Um, and I think the narration starts us in a really low place
Mhm.
because Peter Parker is supposed to be like this goofy, like quippy guy, and they clearly try, but it's so loaded with cliches. I mean, they
Mhm.
straight up, and I know she's literally the girl next door, but starting with, look, it's the girl next door. That's it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like saying this person's a supervillain and then not meaning it in some sort of funny, sarcastic way, right? Like
Mhm.
it's just it's it was rough to start with that. And the transition between really cool credits to really cliched narration
Yeah,
hurts my soul
that's
because
fair.
it was a
Yeah,
rough nosedive.
yeah.
And then I feel like it picks up again when Defoe and Franco come on screen, which is like, oof.
Oh, the expositional kind of conversations in this movie have not aged
Hmm.
well. It's
Yeah.
between Osborne, both the Osborns. They're having a conversation. He's a senior in high school. The conversation about him
Hmm.
flunking out of private school would have happened already because he's been going to high school with Peter for X number
A
of
couple of
months slash
years.
years. So this is a conversation that's already
Hmm.
happened. And then they do it again when
Hmm.
Uncle Ben talks about being laid off. Like it's yeah, the
Hmm.
writing's a little clunky. But going back to
But like
yeah,
I
when
felt
they
like that was the first time when they started like really acting because I don't think that
mm,
any of the acting in the opening scenes is good.
it's
And
it's a
that's
little
tough.
rough. Sure, sure. We can talk about that. I did
Hmm.
take I finally caught when Peter meets Norman Osborn in this movie.
Hmm.
That doesn't make any sense. They've supposedly been
Hmm.
friends for years. It's no fucking way,
Hmm.
dude. You've
And they're
met the
just kind of
guy.
meeting.
You met the guy. Anyway, we can gloss over it. Fine.
And also
Whatever.
Norman like has this instantly really positive opinion of
Yeah.
Peter in a
Well,
way that like is
actually,
supposed to create jealousy and
put
like
put a bit of a pin in that
uh-huh.
for later. But I also want to acknowledge you mentioned how Peter Parker is meant to be kind of quippy and goofy. He has friends. He's just not the cool
Yeah.
guy. So the part in the
Yeah.
bus where the nerd girl doesn't even want to sit with him, that's just mean. Like Raimi,
Hmm.
what were you doing, my guy? But
Hmm.
whatever. So yeah, we
It
make it.
no, they put a lot of effort in the first like 2 minutes of just humiliating
I
almost
know.
everybody you see on screen. And
Yeah.
it's not a good opening. Like I get that we're trying to emphasize that, Peter is low on the social ladder,
Mhm.
but
It's very
there's
early
certain
2000s where bullying is straight up
yeah,
like straight up violence,
yeah,
straight up
yeah.
abuse, like very aggressive. All of them are teasing him at the during the field trip or whatever. And yeah,
Hmm.
it's definitely over the top, but it's also that's the style. It's just something that hasn't aged, which is where it's like I
Yeah.
acknowledge it, but I don't often know how hard I docked the movie for it. Like I still that's probably my bias because I
Hmm.
know there's other movies I would. I know that's true.
I feel like we just came out of the 80s movies,
We
right?
did, yeah.
I feel like there are older movies that pulled off high school dynamics much better than this one
I
did.
can agree with that. Part of it, and Mr. Sunday did point
And
this out. Part of it is because all of them are clearly adults in their 30s.
it's kind of like a bunch of adults
Yeah.
cosplaying mean high
Yes,
school
it
kids,
is, especially
and
Flash.
that doesn't help.
No, it's yeah.
Um,
But all
so
so
like there's my point is
mhm.
we go from a really cool opening right into almost like someone's film project from school style, like first
Oh,
couple of scenes.
okay.
And it really like the quality just dips really fast and really hard. And since it's the introduction to our characters, it puts me on like the wrong foot just getting started.
Mm,
And then I do feel like we kind of, even though it is exposition heavy, I do feel like we kind of hit our stride with the conversation in the car between the Osborns, and then as we head into the field trip like
mhm.
scenes, because yeah, we're getting some like pretty clear exposition in terms of like here are all the things a spider can do.
Oh, but it
But
works. It's a
it works.
presentation. It
Yes, I agree.
works.
I think it
And
makes a lot of sense. I like that they give you visuals of DNA changing right around the
mhm,
time that Peter gets bit. I
mhm.
actually feel like the dynamics between the teens, the students, gets a lot better inside the trip, like inside the museum, the trip as well. Like I feel like the jostling, the guy taking the picture is a pretty common like
Yeah.
way to mess with someone, and like sort of like awkward like hey, you're a pretty girl who I have a crush on, but I'm not going to tell you
Yeah,
that. Do you want to get your
yeah.
picture taken for the school
Sure,
paper?
sure.
Like that's all very typical teen behavior. I'm familiar with that. That's what I'm used to, and I think it makes sense. So I feel like we do kind of hit a stride a little bit
Mhm.
in in the museum, um, but it's unfortunate that we take a really hard dip on that
That's
bus
fair.
scene
Yeah.
because it's just getting
It's
ourselves started again.
it's all a
It's
roller
tough.
coaster. But yeah, so it's
Yeah.
good to point out that for me, it was a roller coaster because I was worried about other things in that scene. I thought the way
Mhm.
they did the spider in this movie is amazing. The cross species genetics, the combination of
Mhm.
abilities, that's awesome. Then I became
Mhm.
more aware of Spider Man lore and learned how none of that is accurate to how it happens in the comics, and so I hated it for a little bit. That didn't last very long because it's so much cooler, I think, than the way they do it in the comics that it was an internal battle. For those that don't
Mhm.
know, Spider Man's just bit by a spider that passes through a radioactive beam. That's it. The idea of combining all these spiders, that's dope. Are we gonna ever address in this world what they're doing with those spiders and why, and how probably no one ever gets bit by one of them again, even though they have 15 of them? No, we won't. That's fine. Um,
Mhm.
I do like we get bit, we move on. I do like the shot where they are looking down on the lab and they're like one's missing, and then it focuses in on the web because we're like right up there.
Mhm.
That's a really good shot. I commented on Uncle Ben's expositional talk. Yeah, but he's also great. This is the best Uncle Ben, and the acting for
Yeah.
the most part is wonderful. I also do
Mhm.
like that the transition into Spider-Man takes a minute. It is unpleasant and it's
Mhm.
like mildly grotesque. In some versions of the
I
classics, it's almost immediate and he like is flipping through the air, has spider sense on his way home. Garfield's is kind of
Mhm.
like that. It's a little too fast. That's weeks from now, but I wanted to just point it out. It's a little too quick. I like that there's this horrible night of terror that he kind of goes through. It's not as bad as some of the cartoon versions where he hallucinates turning into a giant spider. That's a little bit too much. So
I don't know.
this really works for me. I like this version.
Mhm. I don't disagree on the Spider-Man transformation bit. I feel like they actually do a lot to make it feel kind of natural. The progression from going like, "Hey, I'm a regular teenager," to "I got bit by a spider and there are some strange things happening," to "Now I have to sort of
Strange
take action with
things.
all that."
Yeah.
Like I think that actually is one of the most well-paced things in the movie. I think pretty much everything else is poorly paced. For example, we have a really, really, really like short first scene with Peter Parker and his parent figures, Ben and May.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first time we see them interact is 3 lines long. Like,
Like we don't get
"Peter,
enough
you're just in
time
time
with
for
Uncle
dinner."
Ben to appreciate the
Yeah,
loss. I
and,
can agree
like,
with that.
all you gotta do is let them have, like, a really short, sweet, everyday conversation at dinner before he goes, "You know what? I'm really not feeling well, let me go to bed." You know,
Mm-hmm.
like, it doesn't have to be 30 seconds long. It could
Yeah.
actually be a little bit more, or just, like, a little bit of, like, physical affection, like a hair ruffle or a shoulder pat
Mm-hmm.
or something, right? Something that kind of gets us to the point where we can see that they're close. Now, it is very clear that they have a sort of comfortable home life based off the way they respond to his relatively rude dismissal of dinner. But there's just, I mean, it's so quick. We don't get like the first scene with any two characters should establish what their dynamics are like. And we kind of just get the sense that Peter dismisses his like
Mm.
May and Ben most of this movie. Um, there's an appreciation for them after Ben dies. And maybe
Yeah.
that's what they were trying to do, but it kind of feels like an accident. And maybe I'm not giving it enough credit. I don't know. But it's kind of like
I think
they're
it's
not important until he's dying, which is
I
not how it should work.
I
I
think
think
it's
they
a
should
bit
be
of
important.
both. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right in that we could definitely stand to get more. I also think you're not giving it enough credit, but like lightly, because yeah, the
Hmm.
film. You could say the film fails to fully establish a good, healthy relationship between Peter and Ben because like maybe it's because I've watched it so many times, maybe it's because I know what it's supposed to be comic book cartoon wise, but I always feel it like when
I
Ben
don't
dies.
think.
Like it makes sense to me the loss, but you're right in that of the three scenes between Peter and Ben, he's not listening. He is dismissing him, even though that's not their dynamic. That's not their relationship. So it definitely could have been better. I
Well,
think the scene
and
in the
I
car.
also don't think I don't think this movie ever explains that they're his aunt and uncle,
They do.
or like why he's living with
Oh,
his aunt and
that
uncle.
no, they don't. They just yeah,
Yeah,
they
you
never
just
explain
have
what
to
happened to his
know.
parents.
Yeah, which is
I guess that's
it feels like
also
a miss.
That's fair. That's fair. I think as a comic book person, I just fill that in. They do not explain that. They don't
Yeah,
explain if they're dead or
they d
alive, in jail, gone, missing,
mhm,
whatever. That's fair.
mhm.
That's very fair.
And
Um,
it's especially strange with the line at the end of the movie about, like, "I had a
yeah.
father, his name was Ben." Like, again, if Peter only remembers his aunt and his uncle because his parents died so young, I have no issue with that line. But the simple fact that you've just, like, kind of deleted and ignored Peter's parents the
Hmm.
entire film makes that last line a little bit funky because
It
we have
confused me
discussions
as a
about
kid.
who is your father.
It
Yeah,
did. It did confuse me
yeah.
as a kid. So yeah, that's fair. I'll give you that. Um,
Mhm,
real quick, I guess before we get too into the development of Spider-Man and the loss of Uncle Ben, Norman Osborn is building some tech. He's doing
mhm,
some things, doing some military work. I find it absolutely incredible this general's approach to the super soldier serum. He's told, "Hey, it's not ready," and he's like, "Okay, fine." Like that's unheard of in
mhm,
superhero movies. Like he's definitely a tool, but
mhm,
it's portrayed. See, this is something. This is interesting. I don't know if the general is a dick or if Norman Osborn is a dick because
mhm,
before the performance enhancers Green Goblin gas, I don't think they give us anything of Norman Osborn being a piece of shit. They do not
mhm,
establish like it's hardcore the Gollum thing with Green Goblin. They
mhm,
indicate or imply that he's maybe an asshole, or maybe he's an absent father
kind
or
of a jerk.
whatever. And then like the scene where
Mhm,
he is rude, talking about Mary Jane, that is awful. But I don't know for sure if that's Norman or if that's the Green Goblin because that's post Green Goblin
yeah,
gas. So
mhm.
with what we're shown of Norman Osborn, the general is a
I
dick.
mean
But with the way everyone else talks about Norman Osborn, the general is stuck with him and wants to move on. Now, Norman is rushing the performance enhancers. That's the only thing,
yeah,
but he tests it on himself.
he
Again, in
does.
a more believable movie with a legitimate CEO, whoever scientist guy, he tests it on somebody else. So it's just
I see.
there's an interesting back and forth I have with Norman when I watch this as an adult, where it's like, I remember
Mhm.
you being way worse,
Despicable,
but
yeah.
like with what I'm presented, it's not that bad. And like Dr. Strom wanting to take it back to formula because one rat showed bad symptoms, that's not that bad. That's really not that bad. Like that's totally fair. But also Norman being like, there was one
Mhm.
bad one. We're ready to move on to human testing, not like field work. I also feel like because of the superhero movies I've watched, like that is within the realm of believability without being a total asshole. So like I don't know what
Yeah,
to
no,
do
there's a
with
certain
you.
Norman before the serum, before the fog or the mist or whatever, he he's maybe a bit of an ambitious jerk, but maybe not a bad person, right?
Hmm.
Like the only thing that we really get from him is that he does seem to care about his son. Um, he's friendly to new people because he meets Peter, which even if that doesn't make sense, that's the impression we get, right?
Hmm.
And he's running a successful business that is struggling because it's about to lose a government contract. And because he cares about his business, he is willing to take risks
Yeah.
to try and solve
In
his business's
another movie,
problems,
he's the
right?
superhero. Like, I mean, they do this kind
Yes.
of shit all the
Mhm.
time. So yeah, it's interesting the way they did this.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to think of Osborn as like an inherently bad person, but you maybe are supposed to think of him as someone with bad judgment potentially.
Well, it's yeah,
Um,
you're
and and that is kind of what the film is supposed to be about, is
yeah.
like developing that sense of judgment and that sense of responsibility.
Hmm.
So I do feel like he provides a good foil to Peter's
Oh,
character.
for sure.
Um,
It's just interesting
but
because
there is a certain grayness to him
yeah,
that exists because of the serum and everything.
yeah, because the movie is very explicit that the Goblin is a creation of the gas. It's
Yeah.
he calls himself his greatest creation, whereas in
Mhm.
most of the cartoons I know of, in many of the comics, Norman Osborn is a piece of shit. He's terrible.
Yeah.
He's a terrible guy. That's not made clear here, which is just either a very interesting choice, or we dropped the ball. I would say potentially
Mhm.
with him like illustrating that he is already a monster. That being said,
Agreed.
the reveal of the Goblin, both times, skipping ahead just a second, back and forth, the Dr. Strom turning his head after doing chest compressions and looking back and his face being like that, and him repeating the lines, like pulling from memory the parts that piss him off.
Mm.
So good.
Yeah.
So
The
good.
scene with the mirror is one of my
Oh,
favorites.
it's
The
so
way
good.
they filmed that
Yeah, that's great.
is really good. I think for all of my general distaste of this film, I really don't have any critiques around the Goblin. I really
Yeah.
don't. I feel like there are a few plot things. Like I don't love the fact that Spider-Man and the Goblin are made
I
on
was
the
gonna
same
say the
night.
same thing. Same night. That doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense. That's why I was gonna. If you were gonna change something, it'd be interesting if Norman's always been a piece of shit. He's been actively working on
Mm,
this for like a long time. Spider-Man comes around, and he sees it
mhm.
as like a time to pull the trigger, kind of thing.
Well, I
Like,
also don't love that like our first again, we're jumping a little bit here,
yeah,
but the first time that Spider-Man and Green Goblin face off, Peter's only response is, "Oh boy." And
yeah,
like this is the very first supervillain ever.
yeah,
You think maybe we could do a little bit more than like a very
yeah.
quick, brief, almost accidental shot of an oh boy.
Uh oh.
Like, oh boy might be the right Spider-Man response. It sounds kind of like his sense of humor, but it needed more like weight than it had in the moment. And instead
Mm-hmm.
of it being like a sardonic sort of like understatement, it was played like it was a genuine reaction. And I was like, is this our genuine reaction to a green monster on a flying like get up?
Yes.
Because the scariest guys we faced before were a gang of thieves
Yeah.
with some guns. So
Diamond
like
thieves and crop
this is
tops.
a whole new level. Are
Yeah.
we not going to respond to the fact this is a whole new level?
They
I don't know.
address it eventually in Spider-Man 3 when he says, "Where do all these guys come from?" Like it's like yeah, it's well overdue. So I do
Yeah.
agree. And I also I agree that for the most part I have very few Goblin complaints because I'm okay with deviating from the comics to make it the split personality thing and for Norman to maybe
Mhm.
be a good guy who's pulled into the darkness. Like
And
I
the
can find
performance delivery is
all of
excellent.
it,
The
all
way
of
that the
it,
Goblin finds out that
all
Peter
of it.
Parker is Spider-Man is really
Yes, it's very
good. Yeah,
good.
I got no
The
problem with it.
tech is top tier, especially for
Mhm.
a movie in the early
Big time.
2000s. The
Yeah.
pumpkin bombs
His
just being
suit's the best suit
advanced.
in the
Well,
film.
that's the only thing I was going to come back around to say because I think the glider is great because the glider is very campy in the cartoons and in the comics. The pumpkin bombs are
Mhm.
straight up pumpkins in classic cartoons, and here they're just these orange grenades, brilliant. The green suit being like a nod towards Osborn's like brand and also maybe military green, and us seeing that test pilot wearing the headpiece that helps control it and that just
Mhm.
being something under the mask, great, subtle, love all that. Him having the goblin mask because Norman Osborn collects masks from all over
Mask.
the world, implying like
Mhm.
back in the early 2000s we're actually thinking about why these villains would look the way they look. Love all that.
I
However,
also, real quick on the mask things, just
yeah.
because you mentioned it, I love the masks as an emblem for a split personality
Oh yes,
Osborn.
yes,
Like
yes, yes,
it's
yes.
very good, and like he's like looking at all the masks when there's a voice that he
Mm-hmm.
can't identify, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
sort of like which is the mask, which is the
Which
face.
is
It's
the
a really
mask.
good
It's your
bit. It's
face.
a
Yes.
really good
There's
bit.
very, very good. There's substance to the superhero movie
Yeah,
from 2002. There is substance.
continue.
Um,
Hmm.
but my only critique, and there apparently when this came out, there was critique on the suit. They didn't like that the mask doesn't move because the Goblin mask
Mm,
is. Well, I'm getting to that.
supposed to be a face.
They almost did a
Hmm.
version of that. If you look it up on YouTube, it is incredible and terrifying. But almost it's like when Pixar animated water too well for Nemo and had to take a step back. Like it was ahead of this. It would not. I don't think it would have worked honestly.
Mm-hmm. Well,
That
and it
being
probably would have made the spider suit look really bad in
yes, I
comparison.
think so to an
Hmm.
extent. But this was my first exposure to Green Goblin, so I like this version. However, it is funny when you watch or read other versions because the green is his skin and he wears
Hmm.
the purple on top of it. So sometimes when you've just come out of a cartoon or you've just come out of a comic, he looks naked. Just because the green he has green scaly skin with the purple tunic or purple armor on
Yeah,
top of
and
it.
like he has pecs in the suit that are
Yes, so like
really.
sometimes it looks like a naked green goblin flying around on his perfectly designed glider, and you gotta shift gears a little bit. You gotta adjust. That being said, the intro of the goblin, it's a slow burn. It's really really
Hmm.
good. The laugh is perfect. We have I understand and agree with a lot of what you said about acting, writing, camp. A lot of the stuff of this hasn't aged super well. However, I have like three things that I honestly think this movie nailed and we've lost in superhero movies now.
Hmm.
And one of them is the reveal of heroes and villains is very dramatic. I don't hate how they do Black Panther in Civil War, but that's like a really good example of what I'm talking about. Coming to the scene, music drops, the lights behind us, silhouette, bam, awesome, and that's great. But Goblin destroying the Quest aerospace thing, we get the tech, the explosion, the laugh, and then the Unity Day festival, we see him coming from afar.
Mhm.
He flies over us.
Mhm.
The scene is set. The drama is building. We see his back, and then we see his face. He flies by a couple of times, and then we get the full close up when he talks to him.
Mm,
Oh man,
mhm.
nailed it. We don't get stuff like
Yeah,
that
that's good.
as much anymore. We just don't. And that was really, really good. I'm also assuming that grenade that vaporizes 8 people to bones we only had one of. Because when we're trying to kill Spider-Man
Mhm.
multiple times later on, that would have been really
And we just
handy.
don't use it.
Never
Yeah.
use that again. That being said, that probably more than anything else terrified me as a child. That was so fucking scary. Um,
Freaky. And
yeah.
it's like it's the only time we really see like mass death in this
Yes.
film,
Uh
you
huh.
know? And
Because I
it's in your
think,
face. It's like a
other
close shot
than
of a bunch of
yeah,
people turning to skeletons.
yeah, and he's still throwing out the lines. Also, we did quickly skip when Norman Osborn is like told that he's being ousted or whatever the right word is. He needs to resign. I do like how he goes through the stages of grief in that
Mhm.
conversation. There is rage. I don't remember the order, but there is rage. There is bargaining. There is depression, and then there is acceptance. Like it was amazing
Mhm.
how he did that in like a minute scene. Um, yeah, Unity Day
Yeah.
Festival, awesome sequence of them fighting and all that. The MJ stuff, it gets older the
We
more
got
and
to
more
talk about her.
yeah,
We have to talk about her.
yeah.
We don't have to go right now, but it's going to be like
We
I could
okay,
write an
but
essay
we did
on this
okay. Before we
character.
get into MJ, I'm sorry, we fully skipped the wrestling. I love the
Yeah. Oh, okay. We
wrestling.
got to get back to that. Mhm.
Classic Spider-Man thing. That's where the suit comes from. I do love
Mhm.
again for a movie in the early
The
2000s
luchador mask.
the most of Spider-Man's actions develop naturally. Like he
Mhm.
is motivated to get money for a car. He
Mhm.
finds the
For a
ad
girl.
and the wrestling
Mhm.
thing, which is a spider that also encourages the costume. So he doesn't just get spider powers and decide he's going to be a superhero. He doesn't get spider powers and decide he's going to make a super suit. It develops over time. I do like how he gets the name. It bothered me as a child that he didn't think of the name. Yeah, so I didn't love how he got his name when I was a kid because I didn't like that he didn't come up with it, but I like
Mm.
the drama and the presentation of the amazing
Mm.
Spider-Man. Like it's great.
Yeah.
And the
They
cage,
sneak in the amazing thing a couple
yes,
of different
that's
times
pretty
in the
good.
film.
That's
Yeah.
pretty
Mhm.
good. And then the wrestling fight is great. The issue with the money is great. The beginning of the lesson with letting Spike
Mhm.
go is great. And then
And I do feel like like that's very Peter Parker. Like
yes.
there's a you run into a problem sometimes with like the creation of Spidey where you have to embrace a version of Peter Parker that hasn't really embraced like who he is ethically or morally yet.
Hmm.
And it's just the right amount of sass for Peter Parker before Spider-Man to be like, I was cheated by a guy, so why should I stop that guy from being cheated? That's karma, right? Like
Hmm.
that's justice in his opinion. That's how it's supposed to be. But
Hmm.
then because he does nothing, it like impacts him and he
Yep.
realizes that if you don't sort of uphold fairness for everyone, then it hurts someone.
It also
And that's the perfect
mirrors
creation.
it mirrors the Green Goblin and how he keeps
Mm.
saying the things that the people who pissed him off said.
Mhm.
Like yeah, it's
Mhm.
pretty good.
It
Um,
like they even kind of redo it at the end of the film where like it's pretty heavily implied. I believe it. I'm supposed to think the bad guy Spike or whatever the guy who
yeah,
steals the money trips over that pole and falls out and he dies.
yeah,
Right?
he's dead. He's dead. Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah. So it perfectly mirrors the very end of the film where all Spidey does is gets out of the way, and
Uh-huh.
because of the action of somebody else,
Yeah.
there's a weird moment where it's almost like he does what he did at the beginning, and it results in like a just death
Mhm.
rather than like an unjust death.
Mhm.
But I think it still works for each moment and
Yeah.
each scene. Like they've done enough to sort of change the elements around that it works. Because I
Mhm.
mean, the only reason Goblin dies is because Goblin was trying to kill Spider,
Right.
so it works.
Yeah. And I like the I almost worded that really badly. But after Uncle Ben dies and Peter hears where the driver is, I like that motivation to explore our powers. Like it's not
Mhm.
I don't hate
Mhm.
movies now like Shazam where we explore our powers because we want to be a superhero. I don't hate that. But we're in a
Mhm.
movie where those don't exist in the real world. So
Mhm.
there's no reason to. I like that there's a
Yeah.
reason. I like that we know
I
we can
think
crawl walls, we know we can shoot webs, but now I need to shoot webs. But I'm still freaked out. Has
mhm.
CGI aged?
Mhm.
Definitely, but I still love it because the way the cinematography follows him up the walls, swinging on the pole. Also, I do like how it's there's like steps of everything he's already done leading up to the new thing. He's crawling up the walls first. He's jumping as far as he can until he can't. He doesn't start running and start
Mhm.
swinging like he's just mastered it, which is something we get from
Mhm.
movies like, sometimes like Iron Man or Thor. Iron Man's not quite a good
Mhm.
example. Iron Man develops a lot, but he does the whole we have to run before we can walk, and it fits his character, but not Spider Man's, and
Mhm.
it's perfect the way they do it. So yeah, I like all that.
Yeah.
I like the
Yeah,
spike
no, I think the
sequence.
development of the like another thing this movie does really well with, other than the Goblin, is the development of Spidey as a hero. Like
Mm.
Peter Parker
Mm-hmm.
into Spider-Man is
Mm-hmm.
done pretty well.
Fully
There
agree.
is a part of his motivation that I am bothered by, which is MJ's role, but honestly,
Yeah.
if you erase her in the film, it still works.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's too much of a critique. Like for the most part, even though I do think we're missing a little bit of something in the beginning where we understand exactly how much Uncle Ben matters to Peter,
Yeah.
um, there is a lot to like. I got bit by a spider and something was super weird, and now I'm just handling the fact that it's weird, right? I like the fact that I'm stronger now, and I like the fact that
Mm-hmm.
I can swing now, but like I'm not really gonna do anything with it. And then we're
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should get a car. Oh, I can't get a car. I'm broke. Hey, but now I have powers and I can go
Mm-hmm.
fight and get money and get a car.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect, right? Perfect logic there. I mean, is it actual perfect logic? Is it teenager logic? Either way,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
makes sense for the story. And so, like, everything develops super naturally into why he would become a hero. Like,
Mm.
his uncle dies, giving him like the last thing, and he brushed it off, so now it really matters to him. Like that's kind of like he learns to live his life by, so much
Mm-hmm.
so that it kind of makes the end of the film a bit of a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
um and so like there's a lot that works really well there. I just
There.
There are so many
It's
other
not.
things that get
It's.
in the way.
It's not wrong to say that in this movie there are things that work really well and there are things that don't.
Mhm.
To name
Mhm.
a couple more that work, the montage of Spider-Man becoming known in the city works.
Mhm.
Works for me.
It works really
I like the
well.
way they
I like
frame
the
it.
clips with
It
like people's different
Yeah, it's like
opinions, like an
news
interview.
footage. Yeah, I like that a
Yeah,
lot.
uh-huh. Most of
And
their montages are actually pretty good. I like
mhm.
the, like, coming up with the costume montage as well.
Yes,
Like, the
yes.
graphics used in that are
Uh-huh.
very
So
cool.
cool. Talented artist, by the way. Like, fuck, man. You're like a
Mhm,
genius,
mhm,
and you're like a talented artist. Like, dude, you've got options.
mhm.
So that's great. And then
I
the
do question his ability to make the second suit.
don't
There's
start.
no way that you
Don't
can.
don't 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 start because that's something that bothered me as well
Yeah.
because a lot of people we'll talk about it weeks from now, but I have opinions on the homecoming suit that Tony
Mhm,
gives to Peter because someone did the math back in the day before Garfield, before Holland, how much this suit would cost, and it's in the multi grands. So
mhm,
yeah, him showing up to the wrestling ring in that suit,
mhm,
fantastic. And in the
mhm.
comics, sometimes it makes sense. He makes money doing show business for a while, and then it
Yeah.
implies that he
I
can make this
actually
suit.
I do wish the wrestling thing continued for at least like a month in story
So
time.
he
I
made some
think just
money.
one night, yeah, I think just one night of wrestling pushes the story too fast. I think in general, actually, right around this time, the movie starts pushing almost everything too fast. And I understand that the movie wanted to do things over the course of time, but like
Combo.
we get short, short,
Yes.
short scenes very quickly. Things that should be emotionally significant and things
Hmm.
that are should be given time in the script and in the film
Hmm.
are just kind of like hit and run, hit and run. And I think that that is a real weakness to the
Combo.
film.
We want to come because you don't want to do back-to-back montages. You want to combine the
Mm-hmm.
montages. You start with him designing a
Mm-hmm.
suit, go into the wrestling ring, winning. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
extend that fight a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. Start designing the second suit, and then fight and we win. Start
Mm-hmm.
designing the third suit, and then win. Fourth suit, fifth, like, and it evolves. It
Mm-hmm.
starts with gray sweatsuit and a a shitty ski mask,
Well, and
develops
then
into the colors, develops into the material, develops into the quality of it, and it
you're
ends with that
mixing
suit.
you mix in a couple of scenes of Peter being rude to Aunt May and Uncle Ben, and then
Sure.
it suddenly makes sense that Uncle
Mm-hmm.
Ben is like kind of like, "Hey, we need to have a
We do,
conversation."
yeah. And
Where
throw in
I
a
feel
couple of
like
the
in the
fighters who
original,
are maybe look like the Shocker or
ooh,
Mysterio
yeah,
or something.
just for fun.
It's
But I
just for
feel like
fun. Just for
in
fun.
as the film currently stands, Ben being like, "Peter's not right. I need to have a conversation with him."
Yeah,
Almost comes out of nowhere.
it
Like we can
does.
follow it because we can see that there are changes happening, but like the only
He's
clue
not
that
doing anything.
Aunt May and Uncle Ben would have,
Yeah.
yeah, is that he's like not sitting down for dinner,
Yeah.
and
Uh huh.
that's maybe not enough for the kind of urgency that Ben seems to have with his conversation
Right.
with Peter.
And they
Um,
fully removed one of the things Ben references because they made part of this movie with artificial web shooters, like in the comics. And then Sam Raimi got into the development of the movie and decided that doesn't make any sense for some reason. He didn't think it made sense that a kid could develop it. So then he went with the organic
okay,
thing. And I go back and forth on
but
that.
like just a subconscious
Sure.
psychic like
Yeah,
hand
exactly.
motion is what triggers the webs.
Yeah. Well,
Whatever.
there's like a ligament there that tightens when you do that. So like I could believe that to an extent.
You've overthought this.
I have. My point being, when Uncle Ben references you have all those weird experiments in your room, no, he doesn't in this version of the movie.
Yeah.
Because what he's referencing
Mm-hmm.
are the web shooters, and there is one shot
Mm-hmm.
that they didn't fully change, where like they edited his wrists to be naked, but like in the scene he's got the web shooters. You can see on his desk all of the tech. He's clearly
Well, and it's
made it.
interesting because they actually very clearly set up Ben, or they set up Peter to have the generational skills to make the suit and the tech because Ben is an electrician and
Uh
May clearly
huh.
does craft knitting and
Uh
things. So,
huh.
like, he should have had the resources and
Sure.
the intelligence to do
He's
both.
writing papers on nanotechnology. That's fine. Let him
Yeah.
build the fucking web
Yeah.
shooters. It's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can find trailers from back in the day on YouTube where he does have the web shooters, and it is kind of funny how they did that. That being said, it's old enough, and it was my first exposure to it. I don't hate the organic web shooters. I don't fully hate it. It's just
It doesn't ruin it for me. I just anyone who argues that they're better than the original web
no.
shooters, I do have issues with.
I'm gonna rate the web shooters as we go through these movies because there is, I think, the
Mhm.
perfect one, and these are a B minus.
Yeah, I'd take that.
Yeah.
They
This
honestly don't make it that gross, but you really don't want
no.
to think about it too hard.
No, you don't. And the sound effects are perfect. The look of it is really really good. The logistics make very little sense, and it is kind of
Hmm.
there is a gross factor, but that's all I'll say on the web shooters.
Hmm.
So yeah, wrestling was great. Uncle Ben revenge scene is great. Crying on the Chrysler
Hmm.
Tower is great.
Hmm.
Montage of becoming Spider-Man is great. Introduction of J. Jonah Jameson is great.
Hmm.
Love all that. Norman's doing his goblin thing. Peter got fired. Peter gets a new job. Sure,
You got fired
awesome.
from Dr. Connor's
I
job.
know, we kind of gloss over that, don't we, real quick? That's Dr.
Hmm.
Connors. We got Dr. Connors in this
Hmm.
universe, and we meet him later. That's honestly my biggest disappointment of this entire trilogy, because by the time we get to Spider-Man 3, I had gotten into the cartoons and the comics, and I knew who that was, and I kept waiting and getting too far ahead of ourselves. When he says in Spider-Man 3, I'm a physicist, not a biologist, I was like, What do you mean? You are a biologist. That means I'm never gonna get the lizard. What do you mean? Sorry, that's for weeks from now. Um, yes, got fired for Dr. Carter. Also, did you catch who Robbie references as a guy trying to get pictures and just can't get a glimpse of him?
No, who does he say?
Eddie. That's implied to be Eddie Brock.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Everyone.
I think I
Everyone.
was probably distracted by trying to figure out who Elizabeth Banks was in that scene. I was like, I know that
That's,
face.
yeah.
Who
Yeah.
is that?
I was gonna say
Secretary.
all the
Mm-hmm.
the acting of our dear McGuire and Kirsten and Franco, not the best. Everyone in the Daily Bugle, perfect. I would watch a whole
They're
sitcom of
doing a good
just
job.
about
Yeah.
just about work in the Daily Bugle.
Except, okay, well, this is a side point in the
Hoffman
essay
doesn't
about
count. It's
MJ.
Sam Raimi's brother. Oh, sorry, what?
This is a side point in my essay about MJ, but it is unfortunate that there are multiple times where there's like a woman in the scene
Mm-hmm.
and she just stands there completely silent while everyone else in the room is talking. Um,
Yeah.
it's fine. No, it's there's the Daily Bugle, it breathes life into it, and I think that's because this is like a general note. I think good actors make good actors.
Mm-hmm.
Like uh, J.K. Simmons is a good actor because he shows up and he just does him. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit like a Jack Black situation where like it's always going to be him to an extent, but he
Mm-hmm.
also puts in like the emotional reasoning and logic behind all of his characters. Like he
Mm-hmm.
has it makes sense to the character and he figures out what makes sense to the character and he delivers on that, right? So I feel like there's a certain level of confidence and sort of like brashness that an actor like that brings to the room. So when he's sitting there delivering believable lines and making choices that make sense to the character and just sort of like living in the scene, I think it brings a lot more to everybody else as well. They kind of step up to that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree. The Daily
Yeah.
Bugle scenes are some of the best in the film.
Yeah. We're definitely hopping all over the place, and we are rapidly running out of time, so I think we're gonna have to keep hopping. Um,
Okay.
let's see real quick. Unity Day Festival sequence is great. Other than some of the Mary Jane stuff,
Mm-hmm.
why did you swing halfway across the city and drop her on another person's building? Just put her down. My God.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
let's
That
see.
particular garden rooftop gets a lot of
It
film time
does. It's
in
in
various
Daredevil
movies.
and lots of stuff. So,
Yeah.
uh, shit. I have two big things that I like and want to talk about. Maybe I could trim it down to one, and then there are definitely more nitpicks. I think the fire sequence before Thanksgiving is probably
Mm-hmm.
the best sequence of the movie, minus maybe.
The final
No,
confrontation?
no, I lied.
No.
That's the best one because
Mm-hmm.
it's another thing I think we've lost in superhero movies. We don't have the earnestness of saving regular everyday people. Yes, the Avengers
Mm-hmm.
are working for the everyday man, and yes, Spider-Man still is, and yes, Shang-Chi is saving those people on the bus, but like the people are being silly. It's made to be funny, and like
Mm-hmm.
that's also not Shang-Chi's
Mm-hmm.
job. It's just that's the one I'm thinking of because like
Mm-hmm.
Moon Knight isn't saving people, and again that's an old example. Captain Marvel's out in space. You know what I mean. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, we don't
Saving
have like the street level. There's a regular everyday problem that is putting
not
lives in danger, and so the
yeah
hero is stepping in and helping them with that.
not
We
as
don't do that
not
a
as
lot.
much because a lot of it
Mm-hmm.
is the people within their lives. Like Daredevil does a lot of street level stuff in the most recent Daredevil show, but a lot of it is involved in his immediate circumstance. um Not all of it, but some of it. My point being, it's framed very well. There's not a hint of levity. MCU can take
Mm-hmm.
notes. That woman is crushing it acting wise, screaming for her
Mm-hmm.
baby. Us not
Mm-hmm.
watching it happen, I think, is a really good
Mm-hmm.
touch to let
It's
that
tension. Yeah.
yes, to let that tension build. I also think it's a very interesting interaction with the police. My angst wants to say it's not believable, but
Mm-hmm.
my faith in humanity wants to say that it is, and I like how honest it is. How that cop can do the math that he can't save this person, but Spider-Man
Mm-hmm.
can. And I like the whole
Mm-hmm.
like I'll be here when you get back. I'm not coming back, and he has to decide right then and there which matters more. I love
Mhm.
all of that so much.
Mhm.
It's great. And then the fight with Goblin in the fire is fucking awesome. Yeah, CG mumbo
Mhm.
jumbo there for a second, sure, but it's awesome. It is so
It's
awesome.
good.
So I love all that. I think it was done really well. I think it's the best sequence of the movie. It's definitely something they nailed right out the gate that we don't often get anymore in superhero movies.
Yeah. No, there's a lot there that's good. There's I don't know. When it comes to like the storyline between the Goblin and Peter Parker, probably the weakest point is that the Goblin thinks that Peter or that Spider-Man would join him because I think
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty clear that Spider-Man like doesn't have any interest in that. And then I think he takes it way too personal when Spider-Man decides that he's not going to join him, but you can chalk a lot of that up to unstable
The
like
insanity
mental
of
health
it.
situation. Yeah, exactly. Sort of
Yeah.
like I can't believe you have rejected me, and so I'm going to make it you realize how dumb that is.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like a whole wake up to your lack of humanity thing. A lot of goblins and not goblins, a lot of villains and heroes do. Um, you're not like them anymore. Why do you care about them? Sort of mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's not framed as well because we
Yeah.
have to constantly keep centering MJ in the conversation,
Yeah.
and
I
so like
don't.
instead of offering him a choice to gain power or help people, he's like, here's your girlfriend, here's a bunch of children, one of them is going to die. Either way, you are in pain and I feel better because you are in pain, right? So
Mm,
like it doesn't
mm-hmm.
really it's fine. It just doesn't really sing with the narrative thing that the goblin is trying to do with Spider-Man at that moment.
I I
Um
see what you mean, but I think with the Goblin being legitimately insane, it tracks because
mhm,
it's just him trying to cause chaos, and he's chosen Spider-Man as his
mhm,
target of chaos. Because if you wanted to get into it, Goblin is a really interesting villain in that he has no other motivation beyond just
yeah.
revenge, and Spider-Man is the one
Mhm.
who's wronged him at that point,
Yeah, that's true.
and so it
That's
works
true.
to that
And
extent.
he's a creature of misplaced sense of justice.
Mm-hmm.
Even the way that he's created in the movie is because Norman's like, I've worked really hard, therefore I should be able to get this. Therefore, I'm going to go out on the limb to make it happen. It
Mm-hmm.
didn't happen. I get angry,
Yeah.
right? Like that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, the bridge sequence is pretty great. Um, you know, having to make that decision. It did freak me out the first time I was watching it as a kid, and it looked like he is choosing Mary Jane over the kids, and I was like, whoa, dang. But the way he does it is always impressive. The
Hmm.
you mess with Spidey, you mess with all of us, you mess with one of us, you mess with New York thing. They added that after 9/11. Totally makes sense. I think it's very fair. It's a
That's
good
cool.
moment. Um, uh I always get caught up a little bit in the tension of having to hold the that trolley car or whatever and lowering it onto the boat.
Hmm.
I enjoy that quite a bit. Um and then the final fight is pretty hardcore. It's there's weight to that. It hurts watching some of
Hmm.
that fight. Bomb to the face is a lot. Um
Hmm.
I was a little confused as to where it is Norman gets impaled because it looks like he gets impaled in the lower gut. Then in the next scene, it looks like it's just his thighs, which is a very interesting choice.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's probably a few like lack of continuity there.
Yeah.
Just like in various little bits of fight choreography. Um, I don't know. I don't feel like the rest of the film is really that interesting to discuss because I think it's just sort of
I'm
like it
yeah.
works, you
I'm
know?
hopping over a lot. So there is a whole thing with
Hmm.
MJ, and I guess to just
Yeah.
since we are running out of time, I don't
Yeah.
like it. I don't like
It's bad.
MJ as the love interest. I don't like MJ specifically in this universe, in these movies. I don't like it. It feels
Hmm.
shallow. The moment in the hospital room where Peter Parker tells Mary Jane what he told Spider-Man, that is so stupid. It is so campy. It makes no
Not only is
sense.
it stupid and campy, I got bored halfway through the
Yeah.
statement and I stopped
Well, it's
listening.
just
Like,
weird. It's weird, and then it's like, oh, who are you in love with? What do you mean?
yeah,
Like, oh, I'm
yeah.
kind of in love with Spider-Man. It's like, oh, really? The guy that I actually talked to about you recently because he asked about you, and I didn't tell you anything. Bitch, if my friend was the topic of a conversation with the only world superhero, you would know immediately. Like, it's not just that it's dumb and campy, it's that MJ buys any of it. She is written to be so stupid, and she's not a stupid character. She's not a stupid character, but she is written to be so stupid in this movie that I don't appreciate it. I just don't. For her, it's bad. So
Almost every time that MJ is on screen in this film, I get angry
yeah.
because it's like there's this element of almost like voyeurism with her character, where because she can't do anything, the only thing she really exists in the film for is for Peter to watch her. And like,
Mhm.
sure, they have some conversations, but like 50% of her screen time is just Peter looking at her.
Mhm.
And that it gets weird at a
It's
certain point. Like,
weird.
yeah, I'm all for that, like teenagers have crushes, and
Mhm.
sometimes, oftentimes, they say nothing about those crushes to those crushes, and they just kind of like live and die in an unspoken, unrequited crush
Yeah.
because they're
I don't
weird, right? Like, I don't think that that's necessarily wrong. I'm just like the way that MJ is framed from the very first time we see her. She's smiling because
yeah.
apparently this is all about how he fell in love, right? But hold on, hold
Yeah.
on, hold on. It's all about how he fell in love. But
Uh-huh.
the very next thing we see from her is discomfort. And that's the
Yep.
number one emotion we get from her the entire film, except for miraculously when
Uh-huh.
she's with Peter, which
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense because she's not interested in Peter until the
Nope.
very end, when she miraculously is interested in
Out of
Peter.
nowhere. She
And like,
loves him so
I,
much. Loves Peter so much.
and then by the time we get to the end of the film, Peter has decided that he's not going to pursue any romantic interest, even though
Nope.
he's never actually told MJ how he feels
Nope.
this whole time. She
Yep.
just has magically intuited it
Uh-huh.
because woman.
Yep.
And basically, she ends up being a worse written version of Ophelia. And that is
Mm.
really impressive that someone managed to pull that off, because Ophelia does nothing in her story. And yet she manages to be a better character than
Ooh.
MJ in this film. And I
Damn.
would go into detail about that, but you said you didn't want spoilers for Hamlet.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's yeah, it's just, I mean, hopefully my literary nerds out there who are not watching this video, they will understand what I mean by that, in the sense that she does nothing in this entire story, and yet by the end of it, she is only a victim. And
Mm-hmm.
that is just so wrong
Mm.
for an MJ character. I was wrong when I initially was not in this film, but my earlier critiques of this film. I mentioned that I was really upset that they changed her desired career to be an actress, because I was familiar with journalist MJ, where she like chases stories and gets herself in trouble.
I'm not
That's
familiar with that.
actually a newer version. I
Yeah,
guess
that's
I
very
looked it up.
Lois.
The original version of MJ as is
It's like a
actually as an
model
actress and a
actor.
model.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
That's what
like
I know of MJ, is that
that's
she's, to be a little bit blunt for a second,
mhm.
she's a very smart, smoking hot baddie, is what she was written to
Yes,
be.
yes,
And
yes.
I don't think very kindly they accomplish any of that. No
They
hate
do
on
any of that,
visuals.
and
I'm not
that's
hating on the
yeah.
visuals, but I don't like, of all the changes to make in the lore, I don't like that he's known her since they were children. That's not how they meet
And
in high school, and it's an
yeah,
iconic moment where
and he helps.
Aunt May like sets up
He's
a
feeling
date for
low,
his
and
dance.
he restores
Yeah,
his self confidence.
and
Yeah,
he opens
like
the
almost
door and he
like
sees her, and she's like, "Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot," because she
yeah,
knows that she's all
yes.
that, but she's also
And
smart
that's
as
kind of
hell.
like
And
that's what
yeah,
we're missing from this MJ. This MJ is a passive subject,
yep,
where and it's not just that she's passive and does nothing, it's that she's placed in all the worst scenarios so that Peter can look even better when he just
yeah.
stands there and looks at her.
Can you
Like, at
imagine?
least he's not yelling at her, at
Right.
least he's not like dating her in spite
Yeah.
of his best friend,
Uh huh.
like there's
Yeah.
ugh,
Can you
ugh.
imagine if they did this for 3 movies? That would be terrible.
Oh.
Yeah. We're technically at our time, but real quick, nitpick. I know this is not an original thing, but I have to say it. The shots he offers to J. Jonah Jameson, dude, try a little harder to be subtle. Some of these pictures are on the sides of buildings. Where are you supposed to be?
Mhm.
Dude. Anyway.
Well, and there's also just a general sense of like, it's funny in the scene right before that, he's like, "I'm not gonna accept your job, Norman Osborn, because I
I
wanna do my
earn
own
what I get.
thing." Yeah, and then the next scene is him, like, setting up the
Full,
situation where he
fully
cheats,
fraud,
essentially.
fully
Yeah.
cheating, fully bullshit. That's the
I mean,
first
like,
thing.
you could argue it is still the sweat of his labor to a large extent, but, like,
Yeah,
it's
but
just
like, is it? It's yeah.
and
It's so funny in the Civil War comic. Like one of the first or second things that happens after Spidey reveals his secret identity to the world after he joins Iron Man's team is he gets sued by the Daily Bugle for all the money they've given him for pictures of himself. So
Mhm,
yes.
mhm.
However, I have seen this movie, I think, over the course of the last 29, not 29, obviously, 25 years, probably 100 times. I didn't think there'd be anything that would hit me different watching it this time. However, I did find one thing. And it's not a critique, nor is it really a nitpick, but it is different. The modern day Spider Man has affected my visual experience because you don't really notice the lack of expression until you see it done, right? And I don't
Mhm.
hate the way they did Toby or Garfield's masks, but like ever since they figured out how to make those eyes move in a believable techie
Mhm.
way and it line up with the comics and the cartoons, I noticed it this time. It felt so
Yeah.
stoic. It felt more like static, like obviously expressionless. It's
It
a fucking mask. I get it. I'm not
does.
an idiot, but
Mhm.
I noticed a difference, even though I've
Well,
watched this movie 100 times. It
I
just
think
didn't. It didn't.
that's
Yeah.
no, this is a particular part of the film that I will give a bit of a pass because it was an early superhero
Sure.
film.
Yeah. And I
Like,
can't
you
hate
know,
on it
like
for that. Yeah.
yeah. I do think that this is a like absolutely fair nitpick that is also absolutely fair to be like, hey, I don't know if they could have done any better at the time.
Sure.
However, there are
Sure.
two things I can think of that would have improved this experience. Even at the time, they should have been aware of it. Is one, this one I don't think is hard to do at all. Act more with your body language. Get theater actors in there
Garfield.
to give you, yeah, like get you a little bit more body dynamics happening here rather than just
It's a lot
expressing
of
solely with your eyes, like
very
head
still
tilt or
shots in
like,
this movie.
yeah,
Don't do it,
yeah. And I think
Goblin. Yeah.
and
Just
I
kind
think a
of.
lot of it is because they're worried about the special effects and the layering and things, but they needed to put more effort into the body language
Mm-hmm.
communication for a fully covered suit, which they had two characters in. And I think Defoe does kind of try to
He
fix
does.
this, like in
I
that
think
one
he
scene where
does
he's like
better.
kind of leaning over.
Yeah.
He does because he's a better actor. He's aware of what he needs to do as an actor to convey the scene,
I
but
like how he
it
shakes
should
his
have been a little
head
bit
when he
more.
says "Hello, my dear." Like he's
Yeah.
moving with
He
the
knows what he
tone.
needs to do to communicate. And to be fair, he might have an easier job because he's allowed to act insane because his character is
True.
insane. But
Very true.
there's a lot that he's doing that could have been like the director's like, hey, that's working. This is not working with
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man. What do we need to do to get Spider-Man to do a little bit more? It
Yeah.
should have been obvious. The second thing they can do, which I think is harder to do but would have been worth it, is not hire voice actors per se, but hire someone with voice acting qualities.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Because
I see what you mean. That could have been cool.
yeah, because voice actors, their job is to convey emotion through just their voice,
Uh huh.
right? And obviously the animators do a lot too, but there's still a good amount of carrying the load that comes from the way the line is said.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you had even at least some training from some voice actors on how to deliver lines in a way that is emotionally resonant, I think you would have gotten a better comic tone for Spidey anyway. I feel
Sure.
like
Yeah.
if you're not delivering lines as Spider-Man like a voice actor would deliver them, I think you're missing the mark a little bit.
Yeah.
And Tobey Maguire, it's so interesting because he actually plays a really excellent Nick Carraway in the 2012
Mm-hmm.
Great Gatsby movie,
Mm-hmm.
which is a very similar role to Spider-Man on paper. He is a narrator who is telling you the story and he has some judgments about the people that he's around and he's normal in comparison to everyone else is fantastic. Whereas Spider-Man is like sometimes he's that for other heroes, and sometimes he's the crazy one amongst a bunch of normal people. Either way, he has a sort of like dry wit about him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do not think that Maguire is able to pull off Spidey, even though he is a great Nick Carraway, because Spidey needs to have a certain level of like quickness and humor and
Mm-hmm.
sort of like sardonic to him that he just doesn't deliver
Yeah.
on. And I think Spider-Man really suffers
Yeah.
because of his inability
I
to sell those
I
lines.
do agree. I used to make this comparison when I was a little bit younger. It's a clunky metaphor, so bear with me. That this version of Spider-Man is the Heath Ledger of Spider-Man. It's way heavier. It is way scarier. Like the way I like the design of the suit, but the eyes are so intense and pointy. Like Spider-Man's eyes are rounded and
Mhm,
pointy. Like there's a softness to Spider-Man that is not here, and it's not a bad thing. It's become its own iconic. Like the elevated silver
mhm,
webs, like the organic web shooters. Like we changed a bunch of stuff. We changed a bunch of stuff for Joker and Heath Ledger, but it became its own version of iconic.
mhm.
And so, or I guess because this was first, Heath Ledger is the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man or Joker's, whatever the fuck.
I get what you're saying,
So
though. Yeah.
it became its own thing, but the more you get into Spider-Man, like as you grow up, like if you saw this as a kid, you start kind of going back and forth with whether or not you like the changes. I kind of went through like a phase where like I didn't appreciate, because I have come around again. This is something we should discuss weeks from now, where Toby does a pretty good Peter Parker. Not perfect, but a pretty good Peter
Mhm,
Parker. A pretty good Peter Parker. The issue, I think, is the era. And
mhm.
then he does a good adult Spider Man. We gloss over young Spider Man, which is what I really appreciate from the Tom Holland version. It's weird.
Mhm.
Toby is consistent in his Spider Man in this and his Spider Man in No Way Home, but it works better in No Way Home because he's a 30
It
some year
does.
old Spider Man. He wouldn't be
Mhm.
as quippy. He's a comfortable adult man. Garfield,
I also feel like I don't know if it's a set difference or if it's just like Maguire has grown into himself a little bit more,
probably. An
or maybe he was
ease. He's
being
comfortable.
yeah, there was
Yeah.
a level of, I think, pressure that maybe got to him on the Spider-Man set.
Oh, probably.
He just never settles into character. It's never confident, his delivery. I
Yeah.
find it,
I get that.
and maybe he was trying to like act awkward, but really how it translated was like, I don't really know who my character is, and I don't know
Yeah.
how to give him to you because I don't know who
It
he is.
doesn't feel like that in No Way Home. So I think you're right. I think he just
It
eased
doesn't.
into it.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I think that Toby gets close to a really good Peter Parker, but like an older era one, not one that works in the 2000s when he would easily have nerd friends. I think Garfield
Hmm.
gets close to a better Spider-Man, but his Peter Parker's way too cool. Like that motherfucker would
Hmm.
definitely have friends and still somehow doesn't. The reason I
He's
have
suave. Yeah.
yeah, the reason I have come around where like I am the biggest fan of Holland is he nails both and he
Hmm.
balances both, and we'll talk about that more
Hmm.
later, but I do think that's
Hmm.
objectively true. I know there's Toby purists, I know there's Garfield supporters. Love them all. Objectively, I think Holland does hit more of the
Well,
boxes.
and I think what a lot of people do with that three-way saying, they'll be like, Toby was the best Peter Parker, Andrew was the best Spider-Man, and but Tom is good at both, right? The problem is a lot of people qualify that third statement with he's not quite as good as either of the other two at the other
Oh,
two, but he balances the others well. And I'm like, that's not true at
no,
all.
that's not what I
He's the
mean.
best Spider-Man
Yeah,
and the best Peter Parker. He
he's a
pulls
better
off
Peter
both of them where
Parker.
the other
He's a
two
better
failed.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
also, does he run because the other two walked? 100%.
Probably, yeah,
100%. Yes, but it's still
but it
true.
still matters that
It's
he
still
did better
true.
than they did.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't mean it's because of the
Mhm,
eyes moving. Like that's a big part of the enjoyment.
mhm.
That's not what I mean. Like
It
there's still,
helps.
well, it does, but we'll his body language is still great. His tone and the way he
Mhm.
talks is like, this is for later. This is for later. But yes, I love
It's for
that.
later. We've gotten too
We're
far.
at our time. We definitely missed good. We missed some bad. For me, all things considered, it is a whale. I would recommend.
I can respect it more than I did on this watch through before, but I don't think I could ever really
Oh,
call it a whale.
tragic.
Sorry.
You wouldn't recommend?
Only if someone is interested in like the history of superheroes. If someone's like a full superhero nerd, I recommend this as a sort of like you have to pay homage to our past. But
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend it as like, hey, let's sit down and watch the Spider-Man movie. Like I
Okay.
don't think that's
I'm
ever
I'm
gonna
a
happen for
random
me.
person who knows you, and I have somehow the time and energy. I want to binge the entire MCU. I'm gonna do it. What do you say?
only watch the actual MCU movies.
You wouldn't recommend watch the other Spider-Man so the No Way Home hits the right way?
Hmm. Hmm. I guess I don't know. My thought was if you're already watching all of the MCU, I don't really know that you need to watch anything
But you
else.
don't know that technically everything is the MCU. I'm new to the MCU, Mac.
I don't know. I feel like
You're such a hater. You're such a
honestly,
hater.
honestly, no, for real. I just realized what my thoughts were. I'm worried that if they start with the Spider-Man films, they will not think that it gets better and they will stop watching. And
Okay,
I
you should clock that
what I
not
would
everyone's
do,
gonna hate this movie as much as you do.
that's fair. I understand it. But what I would do is I'd be like, if you really liked No Way Home, there are other films you can watch to
Oh,
enrich your
no, no,
experience
no,
of that
no,
film.
no,
But like
no.
I do
Oh.
not I don't really know that I've seen the 3rd one all the way through, and the nostalgia still hit for me, even though I don't like him. I
You
don't
don't,
really know
okay.
that it's very manufactured. I don't know that you necessarily
It's
have
not,
to have all the ins and outs
but
about Toby
it's
known to
not,
appreciate what's happening there.
but it's not just Toby. It's the
It's
villains.
not.
There's an experience that
That's
No Way
true.
Home does where you need the Goblin and Doc Ock and Sandman. You gotta watch them all. No Way Home is a love
I
letter to
mean,
all that came before it.
yes,
It is not gonna kill you to say that
fine.
you recommend that a superhero nerd movie watcher who has interest in watching all superhero movies should
It's
watch the first Spider-Man
well,
movie.
I already said that I would do
Okay,
that.
okay. You seem to be like teetering on like, well, you can watch No Way Home and it'd be fine. Like, no, it wouldn't. You need to watch
I
Spider-Man to
think it
appreciate
would
this.
be fun. I think you would like that movie regardless of whether or not you had seen the others. I do think you would appreciate it better if you had seen the others. I just don't know about the return on investment.
Fine. All right, that's us. It's gonna be a fun marathon. Starting off strong with eh.